YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. What's up, Instagram? Did I say Instagram already? So I've got Instagram right here on the phone. I've got YouTube. I've got Twitter. I've got X, and I've got LinkedIn on the camera. And we're gonna have a nice little chat this evening. Welcome to the Thursday evening edition of my live broadcast. For those that don't know me, my name is Ren Jones. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm also a certified corrective exercise specialist. I'm a certified nutrition coach, level 1 and 2, certified women's coaching specialist through the organization Girls Gone Strong. I have one menopause certification through Girls Gone Strong. I have one menopause health and fitness certification through MedFit. Shout out to Dr. Carla D. And I have one menopause certification through Dr. Stacy Sims' Menopause 2.0 course. I have been affectionately called the menopause guy because the population that I work with as a coach is strictly women 30 and above, but most of my clientele is in the midlife transition. So I wanted to talk about nutrition tonight. And the title of this live broadcast is actually Simplifying Midlife Nutrition for women because nutrition is such a big part, number one, of just your overall wellness, health, right? But it's also a big part of what a lot of women find themselves running into during the menopause transition. Just to recap that transition, of course, starting with perimenopause. Perimenopause being the time in life when estrogen and progesterone really start to fluctuate. Not so much a specific decline, but more so of a roller coaster. You got loop-de-loops, you got corkscrews, falls off a cliff and goes back up a hill. That's pretty much the perimenopausal state. First signs of fluctuation, perturbation, if you might want to call it that, of the menstrual cycle, into menopause, which is technically one day, the 12th month that you've had no menstrual cycle. That's menopause that day. And then every day after that being post-menopause, as estrogen and progesterone sort of flatline, things sort of bottom out and stay relatively the same throughout the rest of life. So in that transition, as we look at nutrition, and nutritional challenges, things can get so complex here. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live broadcast about simplifying the nutrition is because I know so many women for so many years have been in the throes of either calorie counting, macronutrient counting, points systems from Weight Watchers, different colored containers from organizations like Beachbody with their 21-day fix, and just weighing food, measurement, math, algebra. And at some point, it's exhausting. At some point, it's exhausting to go into MyFitnessPal and track your calories. At some point, it's exhausting to consider how many calories are in the almond that you're about to eat. And as my clients express to me, again, I only work with women as a coach, and I'm only online. As my clients express to me, they don't want to be 85 years old going into MyFitnessPal to log their food, right? You're gonna live a long time, ladies. If you're an active, healthy woman, you're gonna live a long time. Do you want to spend your entire existence doing math every time that you eat? And do you want to be able to sort of attenuate some of the things that happen in the menopause spectrum, like help yourself better deal with this very natural transition? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to get started in just a second. I have to pay the bills first because I'm currently enrolling. I'm enrolling no more than 5 women over 30 who want to build their healthiest body and their healthiest relationship with their body without counting calories, without counting macronutrients, without weighing or measuring food, and with sustainable exercise practices, whether that be in the gym or at home, over the next 15 weeks. I do a 15-week sort of midlife program. It's called Women's Liberation Movement because I want to free you from all of the things that diet culture has been handcuffing you with. If that sounds like something that might be a good fit for what you need to do, just DM me the word live, Live. I'll ask you 5 questions, see if we might be a good fit, and we'll take it from there. Let's get on to the information. So the first thing I want to talk about is protein, right? And the reason I'm starting with protein first is because during this menopause transition, really anytime after 30 years old, to be perfectly honest with you, your body is losing muscle, right? So you're building muscle all the way up to pretty much age 30s-ish. And as the 30s pass through, you start to gradually lose muscle. I've seen estimates of anywhere between 3 to 8% of your muscle declining per decade on the other side of 30. But one thing we know for sure is that the perimenopausal phase of your life is where we see the acceleration of muscle loss. It speeds up then, and we're going to circle back around to that time because there are more things that are happening here. But we see an acceleration of muscle loss, sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss in the perimenopausal phase. And how does that impact us? Well, one thing, it can disrupt your ability, it can disrupt your insulin sensitivity. You want to be sensitive to insulin. We'll circle back around to that in a second. But the absence of muscle can sort of compromise that. Another thing we're finding out that muscle mass and muscle maintenance is a key part in cognitive decline. They are consistently now linking the amount of muscle mass and strength training to the early onset of things like Alzheimer's and dementia. If you guys out there are familiar with Wendy Williams, we know that she has an early onset of cognitive decline, similar to Bruce Willis. And your ability to maintain muscle has a lot to do with that. Not only that, but of course your ability to do stuff, right? Unfortunately, my mother suffered a cardiovascular event at age 60 in her postmenopausal years. Cardiovascular illness rises significantly in the menopause spectrum, midlife. 1 in 3 women will interact with cardiovascular issues. It's the number one killer of women around the world, bar none. And up until the menopausal years, women are about half as susceptible, or women have half the rate of incident of cardiovascular diseases that of men, right? When we get into the menopausal spectrum, women even that score, right? And you have just as much chance of having heart attack, stroke, etc. On the other side, postmenopause, the rate for women increases and surpasses that of men for cardiovascular incident. My mother suffered that. She had a stroke at 60. She did not pass away until 77, but she needed our care for the last 17 years of her life. She was dependent on her children until eventually my brother died, giving her care, and eventually my sister died, giving her care, and then I was last up, and my mother passed away in February 10 years ago. So your muscle is also your freedom, ladies, your independence. Your ability to live the life that you want, your ability to drive. My mother didn't drive after 60, right? Your ability to cook for yourself. My mother couldn't cook for herself after she had that stroke. Your ability to travel. My mother never traveled again, right? So we look at things like health span, and you could say from an average perspective, my mother had a pretty lifespan, 77, but her health span didn't match her lifespan. So muscle is your ability to match your health span to your lifespan. I said this on my live broadcast earlier. I got it from somebody. I can't remember who to attribute to, but muscle is the new 401k, right? Your retirement depends more on your ability to maintain muscle in your body than it does on anything you have going on financially. Because if you have all the finances in the world, but you can't get up off of your couch or do anything with it, it's not the greatest existence to have. So that's the next reason that we want to prioritize that muscle. And the third reason for muscle is that we know that when you have enough muscle on your body, you're very well insured against other cardiovascular incidents, right? It keeps the metabolic rate higher if you have muscle on your body. So there are so many reasons to maintain that muscle, and that's why we're going to lead nutritionally with protein, right? But we're going to simplify it, because we want to simplify your midlife nutrition. We don't want you doing math every time it's time to eat, ladies. Here's what my clients do. Number one, they prioritize protein throughout the course of the day, right? And that protein could be animal-based protein. It could be plant-based protein. It could be a protein supplement, putting a little protein powder in a drink or a juice or coffee or a tea or anything like that. I wouldn't put it in a tea because it's going to taste like trash, but you get what I'm saying. prioritizing protein throughout the course of the day. The amount, we look at a palm-sized serving. So you won't always have an item that you can do. Let me show Facebook. It's like kids, you got to show all the kids in the class Facebook. So you got a palm-sized serving of protein because your palms match what? Your body, right? There you go. So we're looking at a palm-sized portion of chicken breast, or a palm-sized portion of salmon, or a palm-sized portion of beef or steak if you eat that. But we're also looking at a palm-sized portion, maybe a stack or a scoop on your plate of things like beans and legumes, right? And plant-based protein, things like tempeh, things like, what's the other thing called? Not tempeh, tofu, right? Those things, those plant-sized portions of protein work well here too. When you can't figure out what the size is because maybe it's a protein powder, look at about 20-25 grams of protein. Now the trick is you want to lead each plate with protein. Make sure you've got a palm-sized serving of protein. 2 wouldn't hurt. If you're a plant-based eater, that protein could be some broccoli, which has protein in it. It's not super protein dense. And a bean or legume on your plate. And that gives you a good portion of protein. So the first simple tip here is prioritizing protein with each one of your meals. Every time you eat, even if you eat a snack, think about where's the protein here? Am I getting a good source of protein? For a couple of reasons. Let's talk about the science of why this simple act covers a multitude of things, right? Because I want to go with the simplicity first and then give you the science. Because all too often we're focused on all the deep science of it, but we don't have a simple way to apply it. This is about application, and this is about making it simple. So what's happening here is, number one, with the protein, you're going to feel a little bit more satiated. You're going to feel more satisfied. Protein has high satiety. It just means when you consume it, you feel satisfied with your meal. You've had enough. We're going to circle back around to another method that will help ensure that. The second thing with protein is that it's going to fortify those muscles, right? During the midlife spectrum, during the menopause phase, from peri to post, your body actually has a more difficult time absorbing protein from the food you eat. So if you're already not consuming very much protein and you find yourself crossing into the journey of menopause, well, you've got a sort of a double negative now, because already your body's less capable of absorbing the protein from the food you eat, and you're already eating not quite enough protein. So we want to make sure that we take care of that. The second thing that protein does, along with fiber, and that's going to come into play in a second, we're just going to keep it simple though. Another thing that protein does along with fiber is it regulates your blood sugar, right? When you get good protein and good fiber regularly throughout the day, that could be in the form of obviously vegetables, fruits that eat the skin, right? Good fiber and good protein help to regulate your blood sugar a little bit better. Another thing that you ladies may find as you get into the menopause spectrum is an increased prevalence of pre-diabetic testing readings. Your doctor may say blood sugar is a little high. That has a lot to do with the insulin resistance that also happens. But again, I'm going to give you tips that are going to be helpful in dealing with these things. So protein throughout the day keeps you a little bit more satisfied. Protein with fiber helps to regulate your blood sugar. Protein in general helps you to maintain that muscle. Because again, that muscle is your tone, right? That muscle is your independence. That muscle is your 401k. That muscle is dancing. That muscle is traveling. That muscle is driving. That muscle is taking care of your own self in your own home for as long as you live on this planet. And protein is going to lead the way. So the first tip, tactic, trick, hack, getting about a palm-sized serving of protein with each meal and plating that first, making sure that that's there. This is one of the techniques that my clients use who are in the midlife. All of my clients use this tip, by the way. So that's the first tip. The second tip, the second simplifying tip for nutrition for women in midlife is eating slowly. And it sounds odd, but you want to slow down to eat as best you can. Why do I want to slow down and eat, Red? Well, how does that help me? Because when you slow down to eat, you're much less likely to overeat. Slowing down to eat, we're looking at 5, 10, 15 minutes. If you can give yourself 15 minutes to consume the food that's on your plate. Now, you won't always be able to do this, right? Sometimes you're going to be eating a yogurt cup, right? And I don't expect you to do that with a yogurt cup. That would be silly. But we know that the way the hormones in the body work, your hormones that signal hunger and your hormones that still signal satisfaction or satiety, the hunger hormone being ghrelin, the satiety hormone being leptin. We know that it takes about 15 minutes for leptin to start to secrete. And what leptin does is it tells your brain that there's enough in your stomach. Now, 15 minutes may sound like a short amount of time. I challenge you to time yourself the next time you eat. Just set your watch for 15 minutes, and you'll probably notice that you eat that plate within 7 minutes flat, right? Most people on average eat an entire plate at about half that time. But we want to give yourself 15 minutes. When you don't give yourself enough time, you get the feeling of having overshot the runway. And y'all know what I'm talking about, man. All day, you're going to your favorite restaurant. Yep, right? Scott said, yep. All day you're going to your favorite restaurant. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to get that whatever they got, that popcorn, that miso shrimp, right? Can't wait to get that miso shrimp to right. Yeah, that's my joint. That miso. Oh man, I go all on that miso. So all day you're waiting, you're saving up. You get in that restaurant and you go ham, right? You just go crazy in there. And then what happens? Hits you, right? That's what happens because you've eaten so quickly that you've overfilled your stomach before that hormone leptin could secrete to alert the brain of how much it's been stretched, how full it is, right? And because you ate everything in half the time it takes to secrete, when the signaling starts to happen, you've overshot that runway, right? You're in the river beside the airport at that point. So simply slowing down seems really woo-woo. It seems like that can't possibly work. It is biological and nutritional science that if you give yourself 15-ish, 20 minutes to eat, Coach Scott's on it. That's right. Right. Absolutely, Scott. But they're happy when they practice it. Scott's a coach, so he knows what I'm talking about. But my clients also, they're like, man, what kind of woo-woo is this? They tried it for a week because I have them practice every habit for 2 weeks. They try it for a week. They come back. I can't believe how much I left on my plate, man. Normally, I'd eat all of that. I can't believe, like almost half my plate was left. And I was satisfied. Yes, because you didn't push yourself expediently through an entire plate of food. Your body has already installed all these processes, all these signals, all of these things to allow you to eat like any other mammal that's stuck on this planet, right? But society intervenes somewhere around age 4 or 5. Somebody said to you, hurry up and finish your food, honey. The school bus is coming. And somebody else said, we don't waste food in this house. And somebody else said, you asked for all that food, you better eat all of it. And because they were trying to teach you societal lessons through the lens of your food, they totally disrupted what any toddler can do anywhere on this planet, which is not overeat. Every toddler on the planet knows how to not overeat. They just, when the choo-choo train comes in and they've had enough, or you're going to wear that food, right? And then it's over. Feeding is a wrap, right? You know what else they do? They eat slow because you give them a little bit at a time, right? And you're talking in between. And again, your body is biologically built to stop you from overeating. It's just societal pressures and standards have intervened and distracted you from your body's own signaling. Now you don't trust it. You trust a meal plan from a person outside of it to regulate you. You trust a calorie count that you can track in MyFitnessPal to regulate you. You trust a macronutrient count to regulate you. But you're not lacking in this ability. You've just been disconnected from it. That's the only problem. So the second simple tip for women in midlife, particularly women who feel as if they're gaining weight at an exorbitant rate, and they don't feel like they've changed a lot. That's right. You just got to know how to self-regulate. That's right, Coach Scott. And you feel like you're out of control with your eating and your feeding. Slowing down to eat can be an incredibly simple, effective tip, and it doesn't require you to be ostracized in social situations. You don't have to ask the waiter, do you have any special oil that you can saute my blankety blank in? You don't have to say, how is this made? You don't have to tell grandma at Junebug's graduation party that you can't have this or can't have that. You want to be mindful of what you're eating for sure, but when all else fails and you're in environments, which are typically social environments, where you can't control the preparation of the food or the food selection, you always have the ability to just simply slow down. Set your timer, give yourself 15 minutes, slowly eat, check in, slowly eat a little bit more, check in, and you're going to realize that you found yourself satisfied before you found yourself stuffed. So tip number 2, to simplify midlife nutrition, for women especially, is to just slow down to eat. Let's go to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is to, in the course of a day, also, I forgot to mention one thing, because one other thing that's prevalent during the menopause transition for women is gastrointestinal distress, right? Because estrogen and estrogen receptors run through the entire gastrointestinal system. The fact that estrogen fluctuates or withdraws can cause you some new gastrointestinal distress. You may find that things upset your tummy that never did. You don't digest things well that you always digested well, because estrogen is your super juice, ladies, and it runs through every system in your body. And when it starts to fluctuate or when it starts to withdraw, it disrupts those systems. So eating slowly is also a great asset in not upsetting your tummy because you've consumed the food so quickly. So that's number 2. Number 3, the third simple nutrition strategy that women in midlife can use is the range of colors of fruits and or vegetables, right? We'll go with the simplicity first, and then we'll dive into the science of why it's so beneficial. Number 1, we're just looking for 5 different colors of a fruit and or vegetable in the course of a day. It could be green for broccoli, and yellow for banana, and orange for oranges, and purple for what's purple? Purple for eggplant. It could be the range, right? Blue for blueberries. I mean, you name it. But we're just looking at 5 different colors, 1 serving of each in the course of a day. And in the context of your vegetable or fruit, you're looking for like a fist-size portion, 2 fist-size portions, right? So that could be this much of a scoop of broccoli on your plate, or this much of a scoop of sweet potato on your plate, or this much of a cup of blueberries on your plate. Any fist-size portion, varying colors, 5 different colors really fits the bill. If you do that every day, I just remarked earlier about how protein and fiber keep your blood sugar in a balance, right? Those 5 different servings of fruit and or vegetables are going to be chock full of fiber, chock full of water, chock full of micronutrients, vitamins, they're called micronutrients, and those things are going to help, along with the protein that we talked about in tip 1, those things are going to help you better regulate blood sugar during the course of the day. Also, better regulate your gut motility, right? Having easier, more frequent bowel movements. Come on, y'all. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it all if we're going to talk about it. And they'll be a little bit more filling. In addition, you're eating a little bit more water through those vegetables and or fruits. So 5 different colored servings in the course of the day. Now, the rainbow effect is phytonutrients or phytochemicals. We know that there are different phytonutrients in different colored fruits and or vegetables. We've got red with the circulatory aid to the body. I think orange is pretty much immunity. I have a list of them in a chart that I keep as a nutrition coach, a level 1 and level 2 nutrition coach, that just talks about the different colors of fruits and or vegetables and what that color coding represents in terms of the phytonutrients that are, you got anti-inflammatories, you've got antihistamines for allergies, all those different colors that these fruits and vegetables are painted with. That's a key code. It's not just random. It's not just for the beauty of it. They can instruct you as to what those fruits and or vegetables contain. So you've got that asset. But the last asset I want to talk about in context of those fruit and vegetables, specifically for women in the midlife process, the midlife phase, is that the gut bacteria is happier when it feeds on fibrous foods, fruits and vegetables. Got primarily, it's not only two, but primarily 2 different gut bacteria, like the I don't want to freak y'all out, but the bugs that are in your gut, the natural gut microbiome. One type feeds on fiber, vegetables, fruits, etc., etc. That's what it loves. That particular type of gut microbiome helps regulate your mood, brain function, because upwards of 90%, 95% of your serotonin, which is a happy, pleasant feeling hormone, upwards of 90% of that is created in the gut. And it's present when that happy bacteria is present in your gut. The other type of bacteria has a tendency to thrive off of highly processed foods, right? Your junk food, your heavy oils, what they call trans fats, things like that. It just so happens that gut bacteria can link to depressive thoughts. So when you're down and you want to eat a box of Krispy Kremes, like I know I do, but when you're down and you want to go through a bag of chips or you want to go through any highly ultra processed food, you're literally eating depression. You're eating more depressive thoughts. That's what that bacteria wants. So to counteract that, you want to get those servings of fruits and vegetables. It's really complex science happening here, but through the lens of very, very simple activity. Just find 5 different colors of plant-based food every day and consume it. You can put 3 of them in a blender in the morning, right? In a smoothie. So that's the next tip that I wanted to go over. Next tip is with your starchier carbohydrates, your more sugary carbohydrates. Now, with the understanding that every single fruit and every single vegetable in the world is a carbohydrate. All fruits, all vegetables are carbs. If you didn't know that, now you know. But with your starchier carbohydrates, what we call the simple carbohydrates, that's things like rice and your pasta and bread, etc., etc. With those carbs, you want to have like a hand scooped size portion. That's your portion. That's your measurement. You know, no need to go to MyFitnessPal. No need to look at the macronutrient count, do algebra. When you get your scoop of rice out of the pan, get a scoop that will fit in your cupped hand, right? That's your measuring stick for those starchier simple carbs. And you may want to, particularly in the midlife time of life, you may want to stave off those carbs the back half of the day, like within 2 hours of going to sleep. Maybe they're not a good idea. I can't say that for sure. That's something that you can try and see for yourself. We don't run through the lens of restriction in my programs for my midlife clients who are women. We don't try to eat in a calorie deficit because fueling is a big issue for active women in this stage of life. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to not consume simple sugars towards the end of the day. It can be disruptive to your sleep. And we're also trying to not overeat. right? Just by not overeating, just by increasing protein, just by having a little bit more fiber through fruits and vegetables during the course of the day, you'd be amazed at the results that these women are able to yield without the stress of being in a rigid dietary protocol. Because above all, in the midlife transition, I'm trying to reduce stress. It makes sense, Celeste. It's coming together for you, huh? I'm trying to reduce stress as a coach. Stress resilience is a problem for women in the midlife transition. Estrogen is a buffer against stress. Estradiol specifically, E2, that type of estrogen. It's a buffer for stress. And in addition to trying to get the best workout that I can, in addition to trying to help them gain and maintain as much muscle as possible, because that drives up the metabolism, in addition to trying to get them to consume more protein throughout the day, I'm also trying to buffer the stress. The stress of body changes, the stress of being in the sandwich generation, having a child or maybe an adult child that they're caring for, having an adult parent that's ailing or aging, that's stress. Being in the valley of your relationship, not in the honeymoon phase, but not in the golden years, that's stress. Having the most responsibility at work. Notice I did not say having the most pay at work, but having the most responsibility, that's a stressor. Sleeplessness is stress. Hot flushes or flashes, stress. Night sweats, stress. Onset of inflammation, achiness in the joints, achiness in the body, that's stress. Onset of migraines, itchy tongue, a symptom of the perimenopause spectrum. Crawling skin, formication, not fornication, formication, crawling skin, facial paralysis, forgetfulness, thoughts that maybe you're slipping into dementia because you can't remember things. Like all of those menopausal symptoms are stress. Why would I add a macronutrient count to that woman's day, right? Here's your macro count. Do algebra every time you eat. I'm not going to do that. It's counterproductive. It's what served you in your 20s and 30s, maybe, that's backfiring in your 40s and 50s. This is why it's backfiring. So that's the next tip I can give. And I'm going to leave it there. That's enough for one night. So come back and watch this replay. If you hear and you watch the replay, thank you for coming back. I'm going to pay the bills one more time because I'm currently enrolling no more than 5 women that are living through the midlife spectrum right now that are just blatantly tired of counting calories or doing algebra, but also tired of every single thing that they try backfiring for the last 1 to 10 years of their life. If you want to get past this point in your life and not continue to deal with the same setbacks on your health journey, I'm enrolling no more than 5 women over 30. DM me the word live, L-I-V-E. I'll ask you 5 questions. Probably tomorrow I'll respond to your DM. I'll ask you 5 questions because I need to know what's going on. And we'll see if what I do, if my program for women in midlife, my 15-week signature program, Women's Liberation Movement, because I want to free you from this nonsense that's had you bound up since you were 13 years old. We'll see if my program is a good fit for you. We'll take it from there if we need to. You're welcome, Scott. Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for rocking with me. Until next time, let's keep it simple. And I'll be back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. with another live broadcast. I'll see you guys then. Have a great one. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter and such.